Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, Islam started as something strange and it'll return to being something strange. So glad tidings to the strangers. Now that's where most folks will stop reading. They quote the first half like it's a poetic headline, but they never tell you the rest of what he said. Because in the extended narration, the Prophet ﷺ was asked, O Messenger, who are these strangers? And he said, they're the ones who correct what the people have corrupted of my sunnah after me. Let that settle in for a minute. He didn't say the strangers are the ones who fit in, and he didn't say they're the ones that the crowd applauds. He said they're the ones who fix what other people tear up. The ones who hold the rope of truth when the rest of the ummah lets it slip through their fingers. Islam started as something strange, a handful of believers in a desert full of idols, mocked, beat on, exiled, but unshaken. They didn't water down the truth to make peace with falsehood, and they didn't trade principle for comfort. They stood firm until the fire turned to light. And you know what's wild? Every generation thinks they're the first to face mockery for faith, but every generation of believers has had to stand against their own storm. The companions had the Quraysh, the scholars of old had tyrants, and we got algorithms feeding us comfort, vanity, and doubt on repeat. Back then they tried to silence the truth with swords, and now they do it with screens. Same battle, different weapons. But the same promise still holds. Whoever stays strange for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sake wins in the end. And the Prophet told us it's coming back around. That same strangeness, that same divide between the real and the hollow. And look around today, brother. Islam ain't strange because people don't know about it anymore. It's strange because even Muslims don't live it anymore. You see it everywhere. Friday khutbahs sound like TED Talks. Dua sound like self-help, and patience is treated like weakness instead of worship. We used to brag about memorizing the Qur'an, and now folks will brag about manifesting their dreams. We used to measure honor by taqwa. Now it's followers, filters, and fit checks, whatever that is. The deen didn't change, we did. And every time the ummah forgets who it is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises a few strangers to remind it again. We got Instagram scholars, TikTok imams, and politicians who quote in the name of Allah right before signing off on laws that mock His command. We got masjids more worried about branding than barakah. We got influencers telling folks that comfort is the same thing as faith. And the ones who still speak the truth, they're the ones getting labeled extremist, old school, too harsh, not modern. But you remember what he said, glad tidings to the strangers. The Prophet ﷺ didn't say, oh, poor strangers. He said glad tidings. He meant you're blessed if you feel out of place for standing with the truth, and you're blessed if your Islam don't blend in with the world around you, and you're blessed if they call you strange, because that means you're still holding the torch even when everybody else dropped theirs. You see, out here in the hills, I grew up learning when the flood comes, the strong trees don't sway with the wind. They dig their roots deep. That's what the strangers do. Out here in Appalachia, when winter hits, the trees look dead, bare, lifeless, and cold, but underground, those roots are busy. They're drawing water, strengthening, waiting for spring. That's what the believer does in hard times. When faith feels lonely, you go underground, into sujood, into Quran, into dhikr, and you grow where nobody sees. Because when the world's faith withers, the strangers are the ones who still bloom. They don't change with the times. They hold the line. They don't chase applause. They chase Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. And yeah, that might make you look out of place, and you might feel like the only one praying Fajr while your friends are still chasing Friday night sin. You might be the woman wearing niqab in a world that worships skin. And you might be the man lowering his gaze when everybody else is scrolling filth, but that's all right because you're walking a narrow road that leads straight to Jannah. The Prophet ﷺ told us they're a small group among many. Those who oppose them are more than those who will follow them. Does that sound familiar to you? Because that's right now. That's this era. When real Muslims are few and the crowd's chasing convenience. When holding the sunnah feels like holding burning coal, and yet the strangers keep holding. That's not just a metaphor, that's prophecy. The Messenger ﷺ warned us it would feel like that. You'll lose friends, jobs, and maybe even family just for refusing to bow to the new idols of comfort and conformity. But that pain, that burn is proof you're still alive spiritually. Coal only burns in the hands of the living. The dead don't feel nothing. So if it hurts to hold your faith, thank Allah you can still feel. Don't be afraid of being strange. Be afraid of blending in. Because the world don't need another soft version of Islam. It needs believers with backbone. Men and women who correct what's been corrupted. Even if they stand alone doing it. Because Islam started with a handful of strangers in the desert. And that handful changed the world, not by chasing popularity, but by walking into the fire of ridicule with conviction. They built civilizations with prayer mats and broken sandals. And when their names faded, their message stayed. Now it's our turn. The deserts are digital. The idols glow in pixels, but the mission's still the same. Keep truth alive when the world calls it outdated, and before it's all said and done, it'll be a handful of strangers again, holding that same banner, whispering that same truth into a darkening world. So you hold your head high, stranger. Every sajda that you make unseen, and every temptation you walk away from, every tear you hide behind your beard or hijab, it's all seen by the one you're doing it for. You might walk alone in this world, but on the day of judgment, you'll walk in the shade of his mercy while the crowd you left behind burns for applause. So be proud to be strange, because in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're right where the story of Islam started. So if you feel out of place in this modern madhouse, maybe you're right where Allah wants you to be. And that's all I got to say about it.